And we have the debut of Ice Queens right here, Wednesday afternoon, 3 p.m. on the NHL Network, followed by NHL Now Women's Edition at 4 p.m. And we have the filmmaker and the director of Ice Queens, our good friend, Kwame Mason. Kwame, first of all, okay, where are you? Because anytime somebody's parked in their car, I always have to ask, where are you?
I'm outside of Fairview Mall in the beautiful land of Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. Just my son, he has practice today, so I didn't want to be one of those guys who are driving and doing interviews at the same time. So I just pulled over to our home mall, as we would say, right?
That's I can't wipe the smile off my face. That's my home mall from high school, about 3 miles from where I grew up. So yeah, Kwame, I know it very well. Movie theater, the food court. It was a staple of my youth.
All right.
I love it.
It's nice to have a home mall.
I love it.
I never realized that a home mall.
When you're a mall rat, you need a home mall.
It's better than being on the road, I guess. In a mall,
exactly.
you don't
on home record.
You don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Ice Queens. Where did the idea come from for you to want to make this film?
Well, just about 7 years ago when my first film, Saw on Ice, came out, I was lucky enough that the National Hockey League allowed me to travel across the country and show my film. And I was in Chicago one time, and it was a great showing, had some great questions, some great Q&As. And then this young girl got up and she said to me, "What happened to the women?" And it made me feel like I left something out in my documentary talking about the history of Black athletes in the game of hockey. And there's a lot of Black women who have contributed to this game. So I vowed that one day I would make this film, and I'm just really thankful and grateful that the National Hockey League allowed me and trusted me to be able to go and make this film to show a little bit more about our beautiful game and all the people that contribute to it.
Well, as a father of 2 girls, Kwame, I'm going to make sure my girls watch it and they will appreciate the stories you're telling. But it's not just inspiring to maybe the hockey players, but also for young women and boys to watch this and see there are other avenues to make an impact on hockey beyond just on the ice. You can be a great player, but executives and scouts and different ways that they can be involved in the game, not just playing.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things when we're talking about growing the game and being more inclusive and more diverse. We have to realize that when we're talking about the game of hockey, we don't have to just point to the fact that you play the game. There's so many great women that are behind the scenes making things happen. For example, Kim Davis, one of the highest executives in the National Hockey League, Black woman, great mind, and she's doing some great things to help impact the game. Blake Bolden, she used to be a player. She's now working for the Los Angeles Kings. We've got some young women that are behind the bench. So I want to make sure that this film doesn't just focus on the playing of the game, but also showing that there's a lot of other things that you can do to contribute to the game of hockey.
Kwame, I see in the trailer Angela James quite prominently featured there. One of the greatest women's hockey player, if not the greatest women's hockey player of all time, certainly on that short list. How was that interaction with her and kind of learning from her about the path that has taken place over the last 20, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, well, it's great to be around Angela. She's no holds barred. She is, like you said, one of the greatest women to play in the game of hockey and actually help change the game. But the biggest thing for me is understanding that her story was not spoken about enough to help inspire more women to play the game, especially girls of color. And she's still resilient. She's still a part of the game. And, she has, and I think has a lot of opportunity to, work for some of the teams in the National Hockey League. But she's standing foot ground in the women's game because she believes so much that if she's a part of the women's game, that's the only way that the women's game can grow. So I really commend her for that, because she could probably be making a lot of big bucks working for some of the teams in the National Hockey League, but she wants to help the women's game grow, and I commend her for that.
Kwame, I'm curious. I mean, Angela, one of the pioneers, when you interviewed and talked to some of the other younger players or former players, did they refer to Angela as an inspiration the way that maybe kids might watch this movie and then follow along with some of the people that you've been documenting? Was Angela James kind of like one of the real pioneers that people look to?
See, that to me is one of the sad stories. A lot of these girls found out about Angela later on in their lives. And when they did find out about her, they were very inspired by her story and helped them go to that next level. You know, Blake Bolden told me many a times that if she knew about Blake Bolden as a young girl, she would have had her posters all over her wall growing up. So, you know, and that again is another reason why I made this film. I really wanted these young girls of color to know that there's a legend. One of the first women inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame comes from Flemington Park here in Toronto, came up from nothing and made it to the top of her game. So I think it's really important that we share these stories.
Kwame, what did you learn the most from doing this work?
You know, what I learned the most is how much we have changed the game and how much the game has grown and how much more inclusive it is. Like I said, you know, my son Hendrix, he plays for a team called the Duffield Devils, and it's a bunch of great kids there, and he plays with this young girl by the name of Jules. And Jules is one of the sweetest girls I've ever met. She's such a hard worker, a beautiful skater, and I could not imagine us and her and other parents saying we don't want Jules on the team because she's a better skater than my son. And that's what Angela James had to go through. So what I came away with is that there is a path for us to go to, and that there's a beautiful history, and that we are making the right moves to get us to a great place where everybody's included and everybody will feel that they're a part of the game, be it girl, boy, person of color. It doesn't matter sexual orientation. This is a great game, and I feel that Ice Queens represents a part of that, and I want people to be inspired by what you'll see and learn from these great women.
All right, well, the debut is 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. It follows, or it precedes NHL Now Women's Edition at 4 p.m. Kwame, before I let you go, I have to ask you, the Leafs, is this the year?
Okay, so
how much time we got?
What is Riley out for the rest of the year? Like,
yes.
Our luck, man. Come on, man.
Saving it for the playoffs. Fresh legs for the playoff, Kwame. Come on now. Don't lose face just yet.
Man.
We need Jackie on here. They can have like a support group for each other.
All right, come back next week. Jackie will be back, and we'll hash it all out.
I'll say this. If we get to the second round, we are going to the conference finals.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
He's calling a win against Boston. That's bold.
Hey, listen.
That is bold.
I am looking forward to checking out the film Ice Queens, 3 o'clock right here on the NHL Network. Kwame, thanks so much for the time. Drive safely.